You want to support Roland Martin Unfiltered? Be sure to join our Bring the Funk fan club. Every dollar that you give to us supports our daily digital show. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real as Roland Martin Unfiltered. Support the Roland Martin Unfiltered daily digital show by going to RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. You can make this possible. Folks, today a jury found that former PBS host Tavis Smiley violated the morals clause of his contract by having affairs with multiple women on his staff. Smiley sued PBS in 2018, alleging that the broadcaster had used a sham investigation as a pretext to cancel his show. PBS countersued, saying that Smiley's sexual conduct constituted a breach of their contract. The jury began deliberations on Monday and issued its verdict in favor of PBS this morning. The jury awarded PBS $1.5 million, but the total amount of damages have yet to be determined. That will be left up to the judge. Scott, you're an attorney. So in testimony, Tavis Smiley testified, saying that his company did not have any rules that barred employees from having relationships. PBS countered by saying, we contracted with you, and so you also had to abide by our rules. That's a huge hit after this 3-week trial.
And they're not done yet. They awarded $1.5 million for violating the morals clause, which is why most athletes and entertainers, if they get in a situation...
Well, not even athletes and entertainers. Look, I say news people.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're on television,
right,
cable news, broadcast news, I mean...
The reason news people, athletes, entertainers, whomever, doesn't sue the parent about poor conduct is because there's usually a morals clause, whether it's a football team, baseball team, basketball team, that fundamentally, you know how broad morals are and how you interpret them and what have you? Well, they countersued for violation of the morals clause. Now he's got to pay them $1.5 million. Had he not sued them, right, then that's $1.5 million that PBS and their insurance carrier probably would not have gone after. It just would have been a clean break and let's just go our separate ways. So look for the appeal from Tavis Smiley 1, but look for what the additional damages that are being calculated by the D.C. jury now and see what that comes out to. Because if it's $5 million, $10 million, then Tavis is going to have to appeal, and there's got to be something in the record that's going to make the D.C. Court of Appeals think twice and send it back down. That's what he's hoping to do.
Here's a statement from PBS. We are pleased with the jury's decision. PBS expects our producing partners to provide a workplace where people feel safe and are treated with dignity and respect. It was important for us to ensure that the courageous women who came forward were able to share their stories and that we continue to uphold the values and standards of our organization. Wilmer, there were about 6 women who testified via video about how they were treated or mistreated or sexually harassed. Some say passed over because they chose not to be engaged in relationships with him. And he had to admit on the stand that he did have intimate relationships with at least 2 of those women.
And none of them were able to provide video, none of them were able to provide email or any type of communication which supported their claim. I thought that was incredibly interesting. Scott.
But also, one woman who did accuse him of sexual harassment left with a $325,000 settlement.
Exactly. Remember, these are his employees.
These are his.
This contract was with PBS. So this is a really unique situation.
We're in a vastly different political space now, where and this was something that Chris Matthews talked about when he left MSNBC, was back in the day, you know, the things that I was saying and the things that I were doing we could say and do, and now we can't say and do those things anymore, and they weren't right then, and they're not right, and they're not right now. Yeah. The $1.5 million, wasn't that PBS saying this is how much you've cost us for shows that were not delivered?
No, what happened was no.
That wasn't that? Okay.
No, and also he was suing. He was
breach of contract.
Right.
Okay.
And he was suing them, saying that they breached the contract by launching this investigation, taking the show off the air, leading him to lose sponsors, and things along those lines.
But I thought that they had a sum of money saying that there were 29 shows that they had paid for that they had not been able to to deliver.
Not sure. That was one of the allegations.
Okay.
But the 1.5, you got to PBS had to substantiate the 1.5 for breach of contract, because you can breach a contract, but then what are my damages? The measure of damages may have had something.
Here's what it is. Here's what it is. PBS, of course, this is a Variety piece. You can go to my iPad. PBS accused Smiley of breaching contracts for 2015, 2016, and 2017, and sought to recoup payments from 2015 and 2016. Smiley had accused PBS of wrongfully withholding payments on the 2017 contract. He offered no comment after the ruling. Joseph, there's a statement that we all have heard and been told long before this whole Me Too movement, and that is, you do not shit where you eat.
You know what?
Yes, I can. Yes, I can say that. Again, the show's called Roland Unfiltered, and this is my shit.
Oh, here we
so
go.
I can. And the phrase, I mean, look, I remember hearing that phrase, hell, when I was in high school. And that phrase was, don't get involved with people in the workplace.
Well, and now you have 1.5 million reasons why you should not get involved with people in the workplace, or more.
Yeah.
And clearly his behavior, even if alleged, even allegations to this extent could be harmful to him and to his network. Keep it above board. They're your employees. You should treat them with respect.
Yeah, but here's the piece, though. First of all, his show got canceled. There is no network. Second of all, when the allegations came out, the book deal that he had suspended, that went away. Then there was an announcement that he was going to launch these series of discussions and interviews on the Word Network, and he was going to launch a digital show. I was told by the folks at the Word Network, black women were like, oh, hell no, and then that deal went kaput. He no longer, of course, he had left the Tom Joyner Morning Show back in 2008, wasn't doing radio, and so I don't know necessarily what Tavis. I don't talk to Tavis. I don't know what he's doing. So I don't think there's anything media related that he's doing. I don't see him as he used to be on the speaking circuit. So all of that has dried up. A lot of people, Scott, were shocked that he would literally, remember he went on Good Morning America, did this whole big interview. They were shocked that he would actually file this lawsuit and would go after PBS. And then what ended up happening was the PBS investigation, the report they did, his attorneys released a part of that investigation publicly to help him. But guess what? That means that all of the stuff that they gathered now is in the public domain versus you don't sue, take the hit, chill for a year or two, and then come out in some other way.
This makes it harder for him to do that, but it also conjures up what we're told growing up too. When you go to kill the king, you kill him, because if you don't kill him, he's gonna slap you back. At least. And so here, the lawsuit calls PBS to investigate, and you had a lot of women who had been terminated, fired, passed over, weren't there anymore, so their lawyers went and investigated, his lawyers investigated, PBS came up with something, and the PBS said, well, wait a minute, we want our 1.5, and you breached the contract because you countersue to defend yourself. Were they really interested in that 1.5 million? If they lost it, fine, as long as they didn't have to pay Tavis anything. But now, this is a blessing of gold for them.
And in fact,
1.5 plus.
And in fact, what this also does is,
and his insurance carrier, by the way, his insurance carrier will have to pay that most likely, and they'll take that payment. They being PBS.
Well, but here's the deal, though. When this happened, look, you lose the show. You obviously lose. But Walmart was a sponsor. You lose the sponsor. And so you're upset because you get fired. Now, though, not only did you get fired, it's now been affirmed by a jury that you absolutely were in the wrong. Now the whole report is in the public record, and all of that. So now it's just elevated by going after them and filing the lawsuit.
Yeah, you got to sit down sometimes.
Well,
you got to hold your
and sometimes take the hit.
Well, it doesn't. I mean, the phrase is not. It's a good offense. You know, championships are won. I screwed it up anyway. You know, that's right. It doesn't go the best defense is a good offense.
Right.
That's what I was trying to get out. But even, you know, it smacks of a little bit of arrogance. I don't know. I mean, I don't know Tavis that well, but I have heard some things that this is
indignation.
It's fairly in character but we're also, I mean, to bring it back to the political for a minute, we're also seeing this with Justin Fairfax in Virginia, who somehow thinks that he was in the wrong, and he may have been. The allegations were unproven, but you don't attack Terry McAuliffe, you don't attack the party when you have this thing lingering over you.
No, hold on. Here's why we're going to differ there. First and foremost, what you have is the Fairfax people have laid, and he's been on this show, we discussed it. The Fairfax people have laid out. The Fairfax people have laid out that literally moments after allegations come out, McCullough sends a tweet out saying he should resign. And they're saying, wow, that was quick.
Right.
Then the wife, LeVar Stoney, who was the mayor of Richmond,
Right.
they have a document where the wife of his wife was involved with her saying, helping get the word out. So you got a whole deal there. And the question that I kept asking on this show, and I've said it before, full disclosure, he's an alpha, so am I. He's a member of Beta Nu Boule, so am I. Scott's a member of the Boule as well. So we know Justin. But here's the piece. Justin Fairfax says there are 2 black DAs, one in Durham,
Massachusetts,
one in Durham, and one in Boston, who have said, if the women file a complaint, we will investigate. They haven't.
That has not happened.
They have. Hold on, they haven't. But the attorneys for the women keep arguing for an impeachment hearing. So you got to ask. So you have to, and this is not taking sides. You have to ask a very basic question.
Right.
Based on what?
How would you be willing to testify in an impeachment hearing?
But not.
But you won't even file a complaint, and you have 2 black female DAs saying, "I'm gonna investigate." Here's my take on Justin, and again, I moderated the panel that took place Saturday in Richmond, his criminal justice summit. Here's the deal: what do I have to lose when I had a clean name, a clean record? Got more votes than anybody else in history when I ran for lieutenant governor, and I'm being taken out. I'm gonna fight back with all I got. So if I'm Justin, I'm doing the same thing. And what's interesting is you got radio hosts who are Democrat and Republican who are Virginia like, yo, somebody got a raw deal here.
But I guess my question is, what do you have to gain? Right?
Easy. You've already had folks sully your name. Folks call for you to resign, say you should quit, and remember, the Virginia governor could only serve 1 term.
That's right.
He was going to be the presumptive nominee to be the governor of Virginia.
Run for governor.
And if you're for Justin Fairfax, if I could be next governor of Virginia, I got bigger sights as well. So all of these things that I had planned, all of a sudden come crashing down. What don't I have to lose to swing back?
But I guess what I'm wondering is, if we're analogizing between him and Tavis Smiley, right? I mean, the theory in Tavis Smiley was, okay, something really did happen. Take the hit, lay low.
No. It's not that something really did happen. You admitted it happened.
You had the
well, fine.
That's fine. It's different to say somebody alleged a sexual assault. I actually didn't do it. Over here, PBS said you broke your morals clause.
All right.
He goes, yeah, I did. Yeah. Then you go on Good Morning America and you admit, I did. Then you have a trial and on the testimony, yes, I did. It's a little hard to then say, I ain't break the clause.
Well, wait a minute, you left something out. A jury said, oh, he did.
So that's the difference. That's the difference between Tavis and Justin Fairfax.
And I guess what the analogy that I'm trying to make is, in Justin Fairfax's case, would it, and perhaps this is better posed as a question, would it serve him better? Young guy, got a political future. Would it serve him better to do the low pro thing for a while and then come back?
No.
Okay, because
he has been accused.
He has too much. He has way too much at stake on the political front
in a few years,
and on something
not
like
even political, personal. You've been accused of
family.
Forget personal.
Well, but no.
Remember the law firm also. When he was working, cut ties with him.
I understand.
That's money.
I understand, but when you look at everything that you laid out in terms of his future, this is something that doesn't just go away.
No,
it does. He can't.
And you can't outrun it.
And silence, in many instances, is acquiescence. you can't just sit quietly, and because when you then decide to run for governor, it's going to rear its ugly head once again.
It'll never go away.
Oh, here's the piece. Here's
It'll
the
never
piece.
go away.
Here is the problem when an accusation has been made and you can't resolve it. It's always there. Michael Jackson settles a case, $10 million or whatever it was. And from that point on,
He's a child molester.
Michael pedophile, Michael child molester.
Yeah.
Even though lawyer Johnny Cochran, those days, you settle those laws, those complaints, you admit to nothing,
Confidentiality
all sorts of
agreements.
stuff like that, didn't matter. And it's still there. Michael Jackson's now dead. Documentary is done alleging Michael Jackson's a child molester. And so it's one of those things where if all I go back to Max Robinson, 1988. Max Robinson is dying of AIDS. He's speaking at Howard University, and he stands up in front of the alumni students and said, never ever lose your integrity or your credibility, because in the end, it's all you've got. I have said this before. I've said this before. If somebody accused me of beating a woman, if somebody accused me of sexual assault, and I know I ain't do it, bruh, we going to the mats. When that thing happened with Eddie Long and got accused by those dudes, this is exactly what I said. When they had their news conference, Roland would have been in the back like this here.
News conference.
And when they were done, I would have said, y'all stay seated. I would have walked up to that microphone and said, everything you just heard was a lie. I then would have said, ain't gonna be no private mediation, ain't gonna be no private discussions. We gonna live stream every conversation I have, because if I ain't do it, because here's what I know. It don't matter if you settle that. They gonna say for the rest of your life, you sexually molested those boys and had
whenever they write
relationships.
about you. Whenever they
and it
write
don't
about
matter.
you.
So it's one of those
That's it.
deals where if all I got is my name, dog, we swinging.
Well, what
and
if
if
you
I
did
got
it? What if you did it?
Now, if I did, I'm sitting my ass down.
Quietly.
No, I'm just saying.
And you're
But
gonna
I'm
pull
saying-
out a pen,
What I'm saying,
and then you'll write a check.
But again, though, so to me, we gotta say, what's the difference between a brother who's in prison, who for 27 years say, I did not commit this crime,
They got 3 of them in Baltimore.
and the other side over
one
here
here.
is a brother who gets accused of sexual assault, who says, I did not do this, and now what you got is my word against yours, and the reality is there is no way to really adjudicate it except if the criminal complaint was filed, and that's the only question I have for her attorneys. How is it that the 2 DAs have said, if you file a complaint, because statute of limitations is not up. If you file a complaint, we'll investigate. Why haven't they filed a complaint, but they've said we'll testify in front of impeachment hearing?
And what he did,
I need that answer. I don't understand that.
what I find
There's no
very
good answer to
interesting,
that.
what I find very interesting about this case also is that from the outset,
What case? Justin's case?
yes,
Okay.
from the outset, he has said, yes, we had a relationship, but it was consensual. He has been consistent on that point since he has spoken on that point. And which makes me wonder, if an investigation were to take place, what would come out from that investigation?
Yeah, what would it show?
And so again, the whole point here is this here: when you're fighting for your name, I understand why you would sue. In the case here, Tavis Smiley files a lawsuit, but you had relationships. His argument is, well, my company did not outlaw that. Yeah, but you're doing business with another
Exactly.
company, and the moment
Who's underwriting your show.
you do business with another company, their rules also come into play. And so that's just one of the things there. So, all right, folks, back to our Roland Mark Unfiltered video in just one moment. All right, so a lot of y'all are always asking me about some of the pocket squares that I wear. Now, Robert don't have one on. Nope. Now, I don't particularly like the white pocket squares. I don't like even the silk ones. And so I was reading GQ magazine a number of years ago, and I saw this guy who had this pocket square here, and it looks like a flower. This is called a shibori pocket square. This is how the Japanese manipulate the fabric to create this sort of flower effect. So I'm going to take it out and then place it in my hand so you see what it looks like. And I said, man, this is pretty cool. And so I tracked down, it took me a year to find a company that did it. And so they make these about 47 different colors. And so I love them because, again, as men, we don't have many accessories to wear. So we don't have many options. And so this is really a pretty cool pocket square. Now, what I love about this here is you saw when it's in the pocket, you know, it gives you that flower effect like that. But if I wanted to also, unlike other, because if I flip it and turn it over, it actually gives me a different type of texture. And so therefore it gives me a different look. So there you go. So if you actually want to get one of these Shibori pocket squares, we have them in 47 different colors. All you got to do is go to rolandsmartin.com/pocket squares. All right, so first of all, that graphic is way too small. So tomorrow we're going to run it right down here all across the screen. So it's rolandsmartin.com/pocket squares. All you got to do is go to my website and you can actually get this. Now, for those of you who are members of our Bring the Funk fan club, there's a discount for you to get our pocket squares. That's why you also got to be a part of our Bring the Funk fan club. And so that's what we want you to do. And so it's pretty cool. So if you want to jazz your look up, you can do that. In addition, y'all see me with some of the feather pocket squares. My sister, who's a designer, she actually makes these. They're all custom made. So when you also go to the website, you can also order one of the customized feather pocket squares right there at rolandsmartin.com/pocket squares. So please do so. And of course, that goes to support the show. And again, if you're a Bring the Funk fan club member, you get a discount. This is why you should join the fan club. Now back to your Roland Martin Unfiltered video. You want to check out Roland Martin Unfiltered? YouTube.com/Roland S. Martin. And subscribe to our YouTube channel. There's only one daily digital show out here that keeps it black and keep it real. It's Roland Martin Unfiltered. See that name right there? Roland Martin Unfiltered. Like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Roland S. Martin. And don't forget to turn on your notifications so when we go live, you'll know it.